Oh, guys, to be honest, I'm not afraid to say that I was kind of lost for a long time in my 20s. I didn't really know what direction I was going on, which is surprising because obviously I've been doing YouTube and making videos for a long time. But now, since reconnecting with nature and growing my own food, I feel such a strong sense of purpose. It's given me a plan for the future because I always know that growing food is going to be what I do. And it really feels that I have full control over my survival. The fact that I can grow food that nourishes me is an amazing feeling. Not only that, the pride that I get from harvesting and nurturing the plants up until harvesting and then giving them to friends and family and cooking with them is the best feeling in the world. One of my favorite things to grow and to watch grow is tomatoes. I have to sow the seeds quite early on in the year because they need a considerable amount of time to bear fruit. But when you walk up to the greenhouse and you see the fruits hanging on the vines, one or two fruits red that are ripe for the picking, it just draws you in and it makes you feel quite animalistic actually. It makes you realize that that is ripe, that's ready, I can eat that soon. And I've got something special. I've got a real rare tomato in the greenhouse that is so big, I cannot quite believe it. So this juicy tomato, look at that. That is sensational. It's actually ripe now, even though it's orange and green, and the flesh is green too. It's called a Berkeley tie-dye tomato, a rare seed. I cannot quite believe I've grown that. It's so crazy that the plant can actually withstand the weight of these. I'm amazed. I'm amazed. Wow. So these are going to be perfect for stuffing because they're so big. So that's what I'm going to do today. And what I mean by the sense of pride is what I have feeling bubbling inside me right now. I can't get over the fact that this is a plant that I've nurtured for so long and now I'm reaping the rewards. Sensational. So I dropped out of school at age just 16 to become a chef. I had no plan B whatsoever, just this desire to work with food, work in the kitchens, because that's where I felt I belonged. And here I am years later, holding something that was just a thought that has become reality now. This is my new book, Plant to Plate. It's moments like this that remind me our thoughts shape our reality. What we nurture in our minds, our dreams, our skills, our intentions will grow. This book is a way of seeing food differently, a way of working with nature and not against it. Inside you will learn not only how to cook, but my growing tips, fermentation, foraging, herbalism, preservations, stories from my homestead, and how to truly understand ingredients. I hope this takes you on a journey of turning just simple vegetables into something alive through cooking over fire, through fermentation and time and patience. So it will mean the absolute world to me if you can support me on this journey by ordering the book. You can pre-order it now and it's out end of May, early June. So please grab a copy. Hopefully It will transform your cooking and your connection to food. Thank you. Well, welcome to my home. You're probably wondering what I'm going to stuff those juicy tomatoes with. Well, it all starts with a base of onion for me, like most dishes, and I just want to draw reference to the amount of onions I managed to grow over the last few months. They're all sat outside my front door just hardening off, and then they'll be able to last for like 10 months, and I've probably grown enough to last me that amount of time as well. This is amazing. It smells very oniony as I open the front door though. So I'm going to pick an onion. We'll get that chopped up really fine along with some homegrown garlic. I'll saute that until it's caramelized beautifully. Meanwhile, I'll chop up some mushroom because that's another thing I'm going to stuff the tomatoes with. So, it's quite a bit of chopping in this recipe. You can just throw everything into a food processor. The next thing I'm going to chop up and add is some mixed nuts. If you cannot have nuts, just use some seeds. I'm also going to chop up and add some dried apricots for that lovely sweetness, and a preserved lemon. So I actually have not made this recipe before, believe it or not. But as I was jotting down my ideas, I realized this has taken on somewhat of a Moroccan tagine influence actually, particularly with the mixed nuts and the dried apricots. So I thought I'll play on that a little bit. So we've got to add some spices too. I'm gonna add some ground cumin, some smoky smoked paprika, and some dried oregano. You've got to season your food, guys. Salt and pepper, very important. What salt does is actually brings out flavors. I know I sound like a beaten, no, what do they call it? What's that analogy? I know I sound like I forgot what it is, comment it in below. But I keep on talking about this. You've got to add salt because it brings out flavors of food. It's not just to add salt, the flavor of salt, it's to bring and enhance flavors, and a pinch of pepper. Broken record, that's the one. So next step, I think what I'm gonna do is get this lovely mushroom nutty mixture into a mixing bowl. I'll stir through some cooked whole grain rice. I'll add a squeeze of lemon juice just to add a bit of freshness. And talking of freshness, I'll harvest some mint from the garden and just break that into the bowl. And then it's time to stuff the tomatoes and get them cooking in the oven. This filling is looking absolutely great, and that just pop of mint at the end will be perfect. Just bear in mind that cooking is very visual. I can see that there's enough flavor running through that rice. I don't need to add anything extra, but if you feel like it's a bit rice heavy, then add more of the flavor and ingredients. This is gonna get set aside. It's missing one very important ingredient. Of course, the juicy bits that we pull outside of these amazing tomatoes. We don't want to waste that. So what I'm going to do now is top each tomato, scoop out the sort of fleshy, juicy center, leaving a good amount of flesh though around the border. And then I'll chop up the center of the tomatoes, run that through the filling, and then stuff them back inside the lovely tomato shells. That is psychedelic almost. Look at the color. Look at that pattern. Nature is fascinating. Unbelievable. So I think this chopped up flesh is really needed in this filling. It's just gonna add a real juiciness. So we're just mixing that in. This could be just eaten as a salad like this, is delicious, but it's gonna get stuffed, crammed in as much as I can get into each one of these hollow tomatoes. Wow, don't they look flipping spectacular? I want to take a photo and frame it and put it on the wall, it's that good. I'm very proud of this. And if you have any filling left over, because it is quite hard to judge how much you're going to need, because it's dependent on the size of your tomatoes, just use it in a salad or just have it as a side. It's delicious. These are going to get drizzled with a little olive oil, a sprinkle of sea salt, and then they go into the oven to bake for about 30 minutes. I think whilst we're waiting for the stuffed tomatoes to cook, I'm going to use my new teapot to make a lovely mint tea with the remaining mint that I picked. Now, when I made my new kitchen, there was one thing that I really wanted: instant boiling water. And Kettle sorted me out this brand that makes this amazing tap. Boiling water, look at that, 100 degrees. I do like nice things in life, and that's what it's all about. Look at this lovely teapot. Spot of tea, sir. Here you go. You're English.
Cheerio.
Cheerio. Cheers. Divine. Oh, it's lovely spot of tea. Oh, I'm getting confident now. I love this teapot. And the stuffed tomatoes are nearly ready. Guys, it smells sensational. Sun is just going down. Stuffed peppers, stuffed tomatoes. Let's put some respect on my homegrown tomatoes name. Stuffed tomatoes for dinner tonight. Let's get them out. Oh, wow. A couple of bursts, but there's some really good ones here. All right, so my idea for this sensational dish is just to put this in the center of the dinner table and everyone just tucks in. It is a little messy. What I love is that all of the juices from the tomatoes have come out and created almost a sauce. That's not going to be watery, by the way. That's going to be seasoned and rich and bold and full of depth, thanks to everything that's in that filling. I'm going to carefully plate these up now and take them outside and enjoy them in the golden hour sun. Guys, I am doubly proud now. That's the beauty of self-sufficiency. Not only does it mean growing the food, it means cooking it too. And I've just really celebrated those tomatoes, and that's what cooking means to me. It's now celebrating the produce that I've grown to its fullest potential. And this just looks beautiful. I've got all the caramelization inside on each bit of filling that was exposed to the warmth in the oven. And this dressing, I had a cheeky little taste. Phenomenally rich. Absolutely incredible. I can't talk anymore. Let's dive in. Oh, it's so juicy. Here it goes. Oh my gosh, I didn't think those weird tie-dye tomatoes could get any tastier, but just cooking them has intensified them so much. And that filling is great. Very savoury, but then you get that touch of sweetness from the apricots as well. I didn't think my homegrown tomatoes could get any better, but that is sensational. Wow. Wow. And the best bit is that little bit of juice at the end. These are my stinging nettle breakfast muffins. This plant, often thought to be a weed, is actually packed with vitamins, iron and antioxidants, and having them running through these delicious light muffins will give you a nutritious boost to your day. Embracing free local foods like these nettles can enrich our diet and connect us with nature just like our ancestors had. I can't believe it that this magical herb is often thought of as a weed. It grows everywhere. We're just on a country lane and there's nettles running all the way down the side. I recommend going onto a sort of secluded property or field and getting your nettles. I know that this is in a very busy lane, so these nettles are going to be good after a wash. It's long been used as a dye for clothes and other material, and the actual stem can be used as cordage. It's an amazing plant, and everyone knows that nettle is great for allergies like hay fever. Now obviously they're called stinging nettles for a reason, and usually I would have my gloves on, but I'm just using my scissors to cut and pick them up. But they only sting you when you brush them, so you can hold them like this. As long as you clamp on their hairs, they're actually like little needles because they inject you with their sting. But as long as you clamp them, you'll be fine. Don't fear the nettles. Just in this little patch alone, I can see cleavers, which are really good for us as well. You can make a cleaver water, and I'll pop a video where we did that. It's so nutritious, but right now we're focusing on nettles, and I need about double this because we're going to steam them to cook them and get rid of that sting, and then we'll run them through our muffins. Oh, my delicious nettles. Totally free, nice big harvest there. Plus I got some of my homegrown coriander as well. These muffins for me are the perfect grab and go breakfast. They're nutritious. We're gonna have oats in them, sun-dried tomatoes, capers, hemp seeds, all great stuff. So let's get these washed and we'll get making. Once the nettles are washed, I cook them. The best way of cooking them is in a steamer. I'm gonna use my steaming basket over a high heat for around 90 seconds. This will get rid of the sting and cook the nettles perfectly. Oh yes. Then remove them from the steaming basket and let them cool completely. Very, very unique, but actually kind of reminiscent smell. They don't smell like nettles. Oh, you know what it's reminding me of? Our trip to Mexico. It actually smells like, Tom, I'm gonna remind you of this, of when we went to the most amazing organic farm. The whole episode is on YouTube. Probably the best day of my life. I've said it many a time. We were cooked an incredible Mayan meal, and it was something called courgettes. For some reason, this smell is reminding me of those. Maybe it's because the courgettes were wrapped in a Mayan leaf or Mexican leaf called hoja santa. Good memory. Anyway, that's brought back quite a few memories. Wow. So I'll let them cool now, and eventually we'll chop them really, really fine. Before I do that, we're gonna make our muffin mixture. We have got some self-raising flour. You can do this with gluten-free flour. I'm gonna add in some oats. We all love oats for breakfast. They're very good for us. We'll mix those together with a pinch of salt and some baking powder to help everything rise up. Now I'm going to add some ingredients that I call superfoods. That phrase gets thrown around a lot these days, but I really believe in these ingredients. Starting with hemp seeds. These are packed full of protein and omegas. Also pumpkin seeds. Now pumpkin seeds are great for hair, skin and nails, plus so much more. Now for some lovely flavor, I'm going to add some nutritional yeast, which has a nutty, cheesy flavor. And from my spice cupboard, I'm adding some smoked paprika. I am literally packing in flavors here. There's a lot of ingredients, I must admit, but these are fully loaded breakfast muffins, and they last for like a week in the fridge, but you can also freeze them. Next thing I'm going to add is my nettles, which I'm going to chop really fine, plus my homegrown coriander. We'll give that a little stir up then, and then I'm going to throw in some capers, some chopped sun-dried tomatoes, and then crumble in some smoked tofu. So tofu has been eaten for thousands of years in Asia, and this is a smoked tofu. It's already got great flavor. Sometimes I feel like tofu has got this bad rep for it being bland and boring, and there's all these sort of misinformation about tofu. Actually, I've done a lot of research on it, and I also am someone that really cares about what I put in my body, and I wouldn't be eating tofu if I thought it was bad for me. It's packed full of protein. It's got all 9 essential amino acids, and it's a good source of calcium and iron and things like that. And this smoked one does taste really good. So we're just crumbling this in. I'm also going to stir through a few cubes of steamed sweet potato as well. All right, so oven's gone on to preheat. It's now time to make this more of a muffin-like mixture. I'm gonna add some wet ingredients now, and actually this is a totally dairy-free recipe, so anyone and everyone can enjoy this if they've got an allergy or not. So I'm gonna add some non-dairy milk, some almond milk and oat milk is what I'm using, some olive oil and some chia seeds to help everything bind together. Guys, I promise that is the last ingredient. Now don't forget, this can be pre-done on a Sunday before work or college or school, whatever, and then you can help yourself to your breakfast muffin on the way out the door each day of the week after making them on the Sunday. So I'm gonna give this a really good mix up and then fill my muffin cases with this beautiful batter. I definitely have overfilled these a little bit too much. I think they do need a topping or two. This is not essential, but I do have a homegrown leek and I got to use it because look how long that is. So I'm just going to do a ring of leek on top of each one, plus a few extra pumpkin seeds, a pinch of salt, and then we'll get them into the oven. Oh, the kitchen smells amazing. Let's get these muffins out. Oh yes, look at these. Nice and crisp on top. Oh, they smell so good. And there's a little crackle from the pumpkin seed just saying, eat me, eat me. But I need to wait a little. I'm gonna let them cool slightly. The residual heat will cook them right through to the center. Now, if you wanna make these for meal prep, just let them cool, wrap them or put them in a container. And as I said at the start of the video, they'll last for about 7 days in the fridge, or you can freeze them. Oh, I can't wait to try this. I think I'm gonna recreate my morning routine, a lovely nettle muffin with homemade sauerkraut on top, and wander over to the greenhouse to enjoy it. My stinging nettle breakfast muffin. I love that I can see almost every single ingredient in here. You've got the lovely nettle, of course, some sun-dried tomato, some sweet potato, smoked tofu, pumpkin seeds. Oh, there's so much gone into this. That's why it's such a great breakfast, but actually can be eaten any time of day. I am so looking forward to trying this. That is just a savoury goodness. I think that you can get a little bored of sweet breakfast, can't you? You know, when you have sweets of too much. I love my oatmeal, my porridge, but incorporating one of these every now and then is amazing, and it's very substantial and filling. After all, we added a load of seeds, we added oats, we added tofu, sweet potato. This is a meal in itself, really. And that sauerkraut really works on top. Stay tuned for more fermentation recipes coming soon. The longer you leave these, the more firmer and easier to eat they are. Mine are still hot because I had no patience, because I just wanted to try one so bad. That's why I'm using a fork, but you can just literally bite them like a muffin. If you live in an area where stinging nettle doesn't exist or you can't get hold of it, just replace it with some spinach or some kale. Just squeeze some of the water after steaming out of spinach, because it does hold on to a lot of liquid and you don't want all that going in your muffin. Oh my gosh, this is going to be the best thing that comes out of your oven. And did you know that rye actually has links to LSD? This is actually my leftover coffee and miso paste bread. For me, rye bread is a piece of history. It's an ancient grain grown far back as 4000 BCE. Unlike modern, badly farmed, over-processed flours, rye packs actual nutrients and flavour. I start by mixing together my organic rye flour with a pinch of salt and some seeds of your choice. I add pumpkin seeds and hemp seeds for protein and some sesame seeds. It all gets mixed up in my big mixing bowl. Then in a jug, I whisk together some coffee with some lukewarm water, a little yeast, some dark, rich miso paste, and the sweetness of some maple syrup. When the yeast is activated, fold the coffee mix through the dry mix until it becomes a sticky, wet dough. Then cover it with a wet, damp towel and let it rise for about an hour. Once it's risen, turn it into your loaf tin and sprinkle over with a few more seeds and bake it for 45 minutes. Rye has a wild history. Back in medieval Europe, a fungus called ergot would infect rye crops, and eating the infected rye could cause hallucinations and madness. Interestingly, ergot played a role in the discovery of LSD centuries later. Oh, yes. Oh, this smells so good. It's hollow as well, that means it's ready. Onto a wire rack. Oh, it's hot, it's hot, it's hot. Oh, yes. Breaking bread. Can you believe how beautiful my zucchini looks? That is a specimen. I'm growing so many of these at the minute that I have to turn them into cookies. This is the ultimate sweet treat, and they're quite healthy too. Oh, I should package these up and sell them. They are really good. Courgette cookies, who'd have thought it? I remember another one. Ah, yes. Look at that. Oh, hello guys. Fancy seeing you here. I was just about to harvest this beautiful zucchini. Look at this. Oh, that is great. To be honest with you, a lot of people comment and message me saying, I've just grown or have one plant of courgettes and they keep pumping them out and you don't know what to do with them most of the time. And I've got the same problem really with just 4 or 5 plants. Today I've got something pretty wacky and exciting. You should stay tuned for this recipe, but look around the garden. I've got loads of courgettes here. But one thing I really want to show you, come up here and have a look at this unbelievably ginormous pumpkin that just popped out of nowhere. It is magnificent. Look at this, guys. I'm a new gardener, but I seem to grow massive pumpkins every single year. Maybe it's the soil or the fact that I talk to the plants as they're growing. I said last year that I could probably put a door on my pumpkin, it was so big, and sleep in it, and this is getting there too. That is going to feed me for ages. Again, I'm going to have to figure out what to do with it, but what I've been doing in the past is just steaming them in cubes and freezing them, and then I've got pumpkin supply for the rest of the year. Oh, it's late summer now, so certain things for me are getting a bit They've been overcooked slightly. That's how I describe it. They're not as fresh and as vibrant as they were in early summer, but there's still a load of food to eat. The greenhouse is great and the chilies are ripening up at last with this little bit of sun we're having. But today, as I said, we're going to utilize these pumpkins. These are crookneck squashes. They're summer squashes too, just like zucchini or courgette. I'm going to show you how I make these courgette cookies flavored with lavender from the garden and lemon. They're actually on the healthier side too, because I don't like to eat too much sugar, and these are great actually pre or post workout, or even just a quick snack in the morning to get you going for the day. Oh, I thought I'd harvest all of the summer squash and I just discovered this one. Oh, look at that. It's like a water bottle. That is epic. And these are great, just put on the barbecue, left to roast, and then you scoop out the flesh just with a spoon and eat it. It's so sweet and delicious, almost like honey taste. Some nice squash there. Let's go to the kitchen. The funny thing is, I now just can't go and cook my ingredients. I never thought I'd get to this age and be so proud of my homegrown veg that every time I harvest it, I just have to take a photo of it. So let's do that. And look at this little arrangement. And you'll notice I got some other squashes here. These are called patty pan summer squashes. Look at that, that is like an alien. And this will just make up the shot. I harvested these earlier. And the reason why I'm taking photos as well, obviously I'm proud, but also I'm working on something crazy. Probably the biggest and best project I've ever done, and something very heartfelt. So I need to collate all of the harvest images and everything I've grown for that project. So more news on that in the future, but look at this lovely setup here. I'm very proud. Sowing these seeds in the cold, and now I'm harvesting them, and it's now time to turn them into something delicious. So let's get on with the recipe. First up, what I'm going to do is get 2 mixing bowls. One of them is going to be for my dry mix. Into that bowl, I'm going to add some oats, organic oats ideally, and then I'll get some rye flour. I'm using rye flour just because I feel like it's a little bit more nutritious than like a plain all-purpose flour, and a bit better for my stomach, if I'm honest. I'm also going to add a pinch of salt and baking powder to help these cookies get a little rise to them, and of course we're going to spice them up with some delicious cinnamon. That's the dry mix, and then we'll get onto the wet mix. Alright, so for the wet mixture, we are going to be first starting with our zucchini or courgettes, guys. I'm going to mix up those names all the time. Just if I say zucchini, my British audience, doesn't mean I have forgotten about you. A lot of my audience is based in the States and Canada and places where they say zucchini. I kind of like zucchini too. And this variety is called zucchini. So anyway, enough of the politics about zucchinis or courgettes. The first thing to do is grate them. And for this recipe, you want about a cup of grated courgettes. But this recipe makes about 9 cookies. So if you want to make more and you've got loads of zucchinis, obviously just double up the recipe. Grate it into a clean kitchen towel and wring out a load of the moisture. The courgettes do add great moisture to these cookies, but you don't want too much. You don't want it to be watery, so wring as much out as possible. Guys, you got to use all your guns here. Squeeze it out. Get it into your mixing bowl with your sweetener. Now I'm using maple syrup, but something like coconut sugar also works really well. This may feel weird at this point, adding something sweet to your courgettes like that, but it will work out. So rather than using something like butter, I'm going to add really good quality extra virgin olive oil, because baking, you do need that fattiness, and you do need something that's going to help kind of add that moistness and richness, I feel anyway. I'm not going to add much, just about a 1/4 cup of beautiful extra virgin olive oil. Finally, to the bowl, I'm going to add the zest and juice of a lemon for that freshness, and also some crunchy nut butter. On this occasion, I'm using macadamia nut butter, but you can use anything you like, peanut butter, almond butter, or if you have a nut allergy, add something like tahini. This is a bit of a wild card optional ingredient, but I just love my homegrown lavender. It adds such a great aroma, and well, you all know about Lavender is very calming. I made a whole video on medicinal plants that I grow in the garden, check that out, but let's get some of these petals into the cookie mix. It'll work great with the lemon. So this gets mixed up now, and then we'll add the dry ingredients into this wet mix and gently incorporate the two together before getting it onto my baking tray. These cookies don't really melt down and expand in the oven, so you want to just shape your cookies how you want to eat them. So I do around 2-inch cookies and nice and thick. So these go into the oven now for about 25 to 30 minutes or until beautifully golden brown and crisp. They don't look that great now, I must admit, but they're gonna look spectacular. Oh, it smells good in here. Got my wire rack. Let's get them out. Oh yeah. Oh, these look good now, don't they? Lovely little golden color. I'm gonna get them onto my wire rack to cool slightly, if I can resist eating them, and I'll just garnish with a few little lavender petals on top. So before the lavender goes on, just a little brush of maple to help it stick and just shine them up. Well, only about an hour ago, my zucchinis were growing, and now they're turned into the most amazing looking, delicious cookies. And they're getting crisper and crisper as they're out of the oven, but I can still see and feel that the center's nice and soft and almost gooey. Let's give them a taste. Wow, for a cookie that's stuffed full of courgette, that is so impressive. Got that lovely note of lemon and the lavender, just very subtle, but the actual texture, thanks to the oats and the rye, make this a really delicious cookie, and it feels very energizing and not heavy and unhealthy. I should package these up and sell them. They are really bloody good. Please recreate this recipe with your courgettes, and maybe experiment. Maybe you could try something else, another vegetable inside. The courgettes added a lovely moistness. Having another one. So in this little whiskey barrel bed, this is nasturtium. Now, I've used this in many dishes before for its incredible peppery taste, but recently I made a nasturtium salt that's going to preserve this flavor for a long time, but actually create a delicious seasoning. It's great in so many dishes, and not only can the leaves be eaten, but so can the flowers and the seeds too, in different ways. It also acts as a deterrent to pests, so they'll likely eat this before eating your valuable crops like kales and cabbages. Now, I want to preserve the flavor of this nasturtium for months to come by making an incredible nasturtium sea salt. This will season up all of my food to add a peppery sea salt kick to everything. I'm going to harvest a load of leaves and flowers and dry them in my dehydrator because we're not getting enough sun in Wales at the moment to sun dry them. Once they're crisp, I'll crush them and stir them through some flake sea salt and then store it in a jar for months and months to come. I'm so proud of my tomatoes and cucumbers that I'm gonna make an amazing salad, simple salad. This is gonna be so beautiful on a hot summer's day. I am like a kid in a sweet shop. All of these amazing tomatoes. We've got some lovely varieties. And then I've got my cucumber vines. I've picked cucumbers so much now. So I think for lunch, we'll make a lovely summer salad inspired by these lovely ingredients. And it'll be delicious, I think. So for this lovely salad, so simple, but it's something that I've been eating a lot recently. I eat a lot of beans, if I'm honest. They work for me. Beans aren't for everyone, but they really suit me and I love them. What I'm gonna do is just simply chop up my cucumber into quite big chunky chunks and my tomatoes as well. I'm gonna fold those through the butter beans that I've cooked. These are butter beans that I soaked and cooked for about an hour and a half, and you just save money doing it that way and they taste way better. I'm also going to chop through some olives. I'll add pumpkin seeds and pine nuts. I'll add some lemon juice and lemon zest, a load of fresh herbs from my garden. I'm going to pick some parsley, some chives, some basil and some nasturtium. And realised this would be lovely with some fresh mint too. But what I'm thinking is herbs are so underrated, really. You know, having fresh herbs growing in the garden is the ultimate, but if you have dried herbs in your spice drawer, adding them into a dish to liven it up, to add some aromatics is so important. I couldn't live with herbs, probably my #1 thing for adding flavour to food. Let's get some mint and we'll add the rest of the ingredients. They'll go into the bowl with some delicious homegrown crushed garlic, some nutritional yeast for that nutty flavour, a little bit of olive oil and some white wine vinegar. I'll then season it up with some sea salt and pepper, and that's the salad done. Delicious. And of course, my little purple rainbow chilies. These are spicy, believe it or not. They look so innocent, but they are fiery. Oh, this looks like summer in a bowl. I'm gonna give this a good mix up. I can't wait to eat this. And that is it. You just want to make sure you've got enough of everything running through those beans. You want a mouthful of pretty much each thing when you're eating it. I serve this with some of my homegrown rocket on the plate and also some rye bread or any sourdough or something like that. It's delicious. And the good thing about this salad, it lasts 3 to 4 days in a sealed container in the fridge. So it's good meal prep. It's got all of those vitamins and minerals in those beans and all that fresh veg that I know my body will really need, especially, you know, after workouts and training. And there we go, that's it. So this is something I would make at the start of the week and I just eat it over the next couple of days. And my mate Jack's helping me out in the garden today. Jack, come and grab a bowl. Here you go, mate. Tuck in, help yourself. Vibrant, fresh. Well, fresh as it can get. Just pick those ingredients. And the beans are so creamy when you cook them from scratch at home. Try not to buy the canned ones. You save so much money buying them in bulk, dried, and just soaking them and cooking them. Oh, summertime in Wales, in my vegetable garden. Not only is this a abundant vegetable garden right now, but it's abundant in flowers too, because I made a conscious effort to sow seeds for flowers, to plant bulbs for flowers like these incredible lilies and gladiolus. I can't remember the name of it, something like that. And right now, although it may seem like a summer's day, we're getting a lot of thunder at the minute, so this video could get rudely interrupted by the heavens. However, I want to talk about something that I've got in absolute abundance at the minute. I can't stop harvesting courgettes and zucchinis. Now, if you grow food, you will know that problem. It's not a problem, it's only a good thing. But I've resorted to burning them, and in the process, creating a delicious dish with those burnt courgettes. I'm going to serve them with the most amazing whipped tofu, all on top of a delicious toasted croissant. What a summer treat this is going to be. All right, well, after a brief thunderstorm, believe it or not, it's now summer in Wales again. And the fire's just about alive, which is good because it's time to burn my courgettes in a good way. Now, I started cooking in fine dining restaurants many moons ago actually now, but I do keep my ear to the ground and go to lovely restaurants regularly to get inspiration, to enjoy the occasion and the experience. But what I am noticing a lot of the time, these fancy restaurants are just cooking over fire nowadays to use those sensory experiences of being able to go into the restaurant and smell the smoke, but also because of the effect that it has on food. So really, it's going back to basics. And as you know, I've been cooking over fire for a long time, and it's something I love to do. I love being outside and cooking just after harvesting the ingredients. So I don't really have much of a recipe for this. So what I'm gonna do is let this fire almost go to white coals, and then we're gonna start grilling off the courgettes. I want them to be charred, blackened, and that smokiness will penetrate through right into that courgette. I'll pick some rosemary. We'll use that as a brush to brush some oil over the top. It's gonna be great, let's do it. Now I know I'm making a bit of faff over this, but these are my homegrown courgettes, so I treat them with respect and care and a little bit of extra passion. And if you really want to get a little bit more creative, throw a little bit of the rosemary actually on the coals to infuse some of its fragrance. You can see the smoke coming off that rosemary already. It may add 1 or 2% extra flavour, it may not add anything, but why not try it? So to serve with this very simple burnt courgettes or zucchinis, I've got an extra special decadent creamy dressing to go with it. This is called whipped tofu. So all it is silken tofu whipped up with my whisk with a load of lemon juice and lemon zest, a pinch of salt, some garlic granules and some nutritional yeast. I'll also add a touch of olive oil, and that's it. It's so creamy and luxurious. I think it's such an underrated ingredient, silken tofu. Straight on the compost heap. Kobe! I missed that one. We'll slam dunk it though. That was an MJ.
Oh, so you just gotta whip it, whip it, whip it, whip it. And this is an amazing dairy-free alternative to something like ricotta. I don't eat dairy. I actually can't eat dairy. So this is an amazing alternative. It tastes incredible, it's so creamy. Whew, it's a workout. That is it. Luxuriously creamy. Let's give it a taste. So rich. And a little bit of peppery olive oil is sensational. Let's check on my burnt courgettes. Wow. Oh. That is exactly what I wanted, that blistering. That's where the skin has gone past the point of caramelization and has started to burn. It's absolutely beautiful. So all the smokiness is penetrating right through to that flesh. I can see some juices coming out as well. If you've got that powdery smokiness or burntness, it's not right. But this stuff, this is what I want. This is just pure flavor. Oh, yes. I'll just slowly roast the other side now, and then it's time to serve up. Before I take them off, I don't know why, but this phrase has been in my head for ages when I was writing this recipe. You've got to hit them with the oregano. It just feels right. And as soon as it's hitting, it's releasing that aroma. Let's get them off and toast the croissants. So these croissants are from an amazing baker around the corner actually. They're so delicious. And I thought, why not we toast them, but squash them whilst they're toasting? So I'm gonna put another cast iron pan over the top and wait for them to go really crisp and golden. Meanwhile, I'll pick some chives from the garden. I want a load, really finely chopped. That's gonna be a perfect garnish for this dish. Well, when I said I wanted a load of chives, I meant it. This is gonna be the icing on the cake. All right, let's serve up. Let's basically stack everything up. Oh, they're so crisp and there's so many layers. These are made by a baker called Artlist, and they're actually dairy-free too, so I can eat them. Whipped tofu goes on top, and then a load of chives, and then that courgette. This gets chopped into chunks. I'm gonna plate the last one up in the sun. Oh yes, that's what I wanted, a bit of sun. Something about this sun and this burnt courgette that's making me a little bit too excited. Cannot wait to taste this. This looks decadent. So simple as well, just a few ingredients, but we're heroing my homegrown veg, and I just want you to do the same at home with whatever ingredient you have. Hero it and make it the star of the show. Here it goes, guys. Oh my gosh. Grilling and barbecuing veg is so underrated, I've got to admit. It's incredible because the center is so moist and is subtly smoky. I'm not like overpowered with anything burnt, it's just lightly on the palate. And then the creaminess and the crunchiness of that croissant and the ricotta, unbelievable. Really overload it with the chives as well. Little chives, they're so mighty for their size in terms of that oniony kick that they give, but it just makes this dish perfect. Muy rico. Sun's come out. So it's that time of year again when the hedgerows and the bushes and the fields give us free food. But if you've been keeping a close eye on my channel, I've been celebrating the free food that has been on offer all throughout the seasons, which is amazing. Right now, it's blackberry season. This is a delicacy. I feel like loads of people my age and younger don't make it a thing to come out and pick blackberries. This could be a year's supply of food if you preserve them just by freezing them. That's what I do, because we spend a lot of money on blueberries and raspberries that have been shipped over from other parts of the world to the UK in the winter time. Why don't we just pick enough of these to store them through winter? They're so good for you and they're so delicious when you pick them at the right time. Now, often me and my mum make it a tradition to come and pick blackberries together, and we will do it this season because they are available to pick throughout sort of midsummer to late or early autumn actually. So it's a good period of time to pick your blackberries and get a lot of free food. I was amazed to find out that the people before us would use the blackberry plant as medicine. Not just the berries, the leaves and the roots were made into tea to help cure stomach issues and used as a mouthwash to help things like sore throat and mouth ulcers. The blackberries themselves not only have a delicious flavour, but they're rich in vitamin C and K, fibre, antioxidants, and they will boost your immune system. You can make them into medicinal syrups and jams, but today I'm making a delicious cornbread. Well, I bet you didn't expect that, cornbread with these blackberries. And talking of medicinal properties, just in this hedgerow alone, right by here, I can see beautiful ripe blackberries, and then right next to it, elderberries too. I'm gonna pick those as well because I cannot get enough of this incredible healing berry. I can't resist them. How is this free? What I really love about cornbread is that lovely yellow colour it has. I had some incredible cornbread in Jamaica, surprisingly actually, made by my friend Mariana. And you got to check out the whole series we did in Jamaica, it was magical. But talking of cornbread, I haven't actually got down deep south in the USA as yet to get that sort of authentic cornbread. But what I love about it is that colour. I'm going to enhance it a little bit by using something called poor man's saffron. This is calendula. It's so good for the skin, but it also can be used to sort of infuse a really vibrant orange colour into dishes. And that's what I'm going to use it for today. I'm going to pick a bunch of this. You don't have to do it. It's just me flexing my vegetable growing guns because I just want to get another ingredient from my garden in. So let's pick this and get into the kitchen. Oh, I feel a bit tired today, guys. I'm not going to take my hat off either because I definitely will have hat hair, so you're going to have to get used to me being on snooze mode in today's video. But luckily, this is the most simple recipe ever, so we can all do this when we're feeling a little tired. First things first, I'm going to light some incense, get it smelling beautiful in the kitchen. I think, you know, since I've moved into my dream kitchen, I really enjoy the moment so much more. The process of cooking is beautiful. So I think that often we're rushing, we're trying to make a quick meal in the evening. Maybe it's a case of putting some nice music on or lighting some incense and it just makes you enjoy the process a little bit more because it should be enjoyable. It's very therapeutic and it's very helpful for the mind. So that's what I'll do now, light some incense. And for everyone asking what incense I burn, I actually burn frankincense, which I first discovered in Mexico. First things first, get your blackberries soaking. For this recipe, you're gonna want about 1.5 cups fresh blackberries. I soak them in some cold water just to give them a little clean. Then preheat your oven and we'll get mixing up the batter. All right, so what we're gonna do is get the dry ingredients mixed together. All you're gonna need, of course, is some cornmeal. I'm using polenta, it's called here in the UK. That's going into my mixing bowl along with some all-purpose organic plain flour. I'm also going to add some baking powder, which will help rise this up, and a pinch of sea salt. Right, final ingredient into the dry mix, as I spin for some reason, is some cinnamon. This special cinnamon was given to me by my friends Nom Living, who make a load of my favorite bowls from Vietnam. It smells, wow, it's incredible. I put it on everything. Give the dry ingredients a good old mix up, then make a well in the center and pour in the wet ingredients. I'm going to be adding some milk, some extra virgin olive oil, some apple cider vinegar, and a touch of vanilla extract. I actually made this vanilla extract just by using the leftover pods from baking cakes or desserts. Pop them in this jar with some vodka. I filled it up with some vodka, and over time, over a number of months, all that excess vanilla gets sort of drawn out by the alcohol and creates the most flavoursome vanilla-y flavour. Oh, flavoursome vanilla-y flavour. It's unreal. Way better than shop-bought stuff, and a good way to use up the pods. Right, so the only sweetness I am adding to my cornbread is just a little bit of maple syrup. Of course, we've got those really sweet, juicy, freshly harvested blackberries, so just a little maple syrup. All right, let's mix it up. All right, look at that lovely batter. Let's get our poor man's, or poor person's saffron. I don't know what's wrong with me today, guys. I need some cornbread. I love these little petals. I made the most amazing moisturizer with them. They're so good, you've got to check it out. I'll pop the video link by here. So what goes in next is those amazing blackberries. They've had a nice soak, they're nice and clean, and then the fun part, mixing everything up together. Now what I do is just kind of see if there's enough blackberries running through it. I think I could do a bit more. I want to pack as many as I can in. When you've mixed up the batter, you've got to preheat your pan. I'm using my cast iron pan for about 5 minutes in a hot oven, and then we'll get the batter in. Oh, here it goes, let's get it out. Oh, look at that! It's beautiful. Sorry, that's the usual reaction. So batter goes in, into the hot pan. Hope we get a nice sizzle. Spread this out and get it in the oven until golden, crisp and delicious. The house smells amazing, literally beautiful. Let's get this cornbread out, the blackberry and calendula cornbread. And when it comes out, we're gonna hit it with the butter. Oh yes, guys, it smells so good. Let's get that butter on. I'm just using some olive oil butter. Look at that butter melting, looks glorious. Oh. Let's get it onto the wire rack and cut a slice and taste. Oh, we did it. Let's grab some plates. I love seeing the big juicy blackberries running right through it. Oh, yes, and there's little flecks of that calendula. And I'm just going to simply serve this up with a little flour on these nice plates. There it is, my forage blackberry and calendula cornbread. Oh, sun's come out. Oh, sun is out now. That's what I need. That'll give me a good pick-me-up. But so will this. Just in front of the calendulas and the blackberries. I can see them in the bushes in front of me. All inside this lovely cornbread as well. Lovely crisp base actually, thanks to preheating that pan, I think. Oh, and it's really just subtly sweetened. Thanks to the maple syrup. I don't really want sugary stuff anymore, but the blackberries for me are just juicy and sweet enough. Crunch. That base being so crunchy and crisp makes it hard to cut, but you can just pick it up like this and enjoy it. Oh, that looks great. It's my garden on a plate. Yes, this is what I need. Just nourishing and warm. Delicious, absolutely delicious. I'm gonna see how many ingredients from my vegetable garden I can fit into my dinner. So I think I'm gonna get some spring onions. I've got some lovely spring onions here. Actually, this will be the nice base to this dish. Oh, they are some stunning little scallions. Actually, they're not even little, they're big and juicy. Really amazing, so fresh, and you can use the whole thing. Look at that. So that's number one ingredient going into the basket. I'm gonna get some garlic that I harvested recently. A carrot, which will be exciting because I don't know which color it's going to be. Oh, jeepers, guys. That was hard work. It's a long, skinny one. You be the judge. I don't know. Do you like long, skinny ones? You tell me. Some celery, which will add real depth to this dish. A couple of tomatoes, again, as they blister in the bottom of the pan, they're gonna get really rich. I'll also add some heat. I'll add a little chili of mine, some tantalizing thyme for that aromatic flavor, a bay leaf or two, and then we'll harvest some of my favorite, some courgettes and some French beans, the first of this year's harvest. And then to stir through the dish at the very end, I'll pick some chard, cavolo nero and basil, some leafy greens and fragrance that work perfectly added to dishes at the very end. All right, so I count 14, and there's still so many more things I could get into this, but I'll be picking all day. But this is great to feel the rewards of a long growing season so far. Started very early, sowing my seeds in January. I'm gonna get this chopped up. There's no recipe for this, guys. Just chopping up the base, sauteing that off and gradually adding each ingredient based off how quickly they cook. I will be adding things like courgette and the beans towards the end because I don't want to overcook those, as well as the kales and the chard and the basil. But I'll be also stirring in some quinoa and some spices like smoked paprika as well. All right, now that I've added the stock, I'm gonna add the quinoa. A great source of protein and something I rely on all the time to eat actually. And it's really nice in stews. It's just important just to add just enough. If you add too much, then it makes the stew basically not a stew because it absorbs so much water. It fluffs up so nicely. So just add less than you think to add. So now that my stew is bubbling away and I can see that quinoa just cooking, you can see that little strand come off. My old head chef would tell me when you see that strand break away, quinoa is almost done. So I'm going to cut this into quite sizable chunks actually because I like a bit of a bite with my courgette. Same with the beans. And once it's nearly cooked, we'll throw those in. And also I'll finally shred up the greens plus the onion tops and the carrot tops. They're going to be great garnishes.
Look at that freshness. 15 ingredients from my garden inside here, just picked. That's got to be good for my body. Before serving, I sprinkle in some of the fresh basil and then serve up with some chopped pistachio nuts and a little of tahini, because I need tahini on everything. That is there. So just as the greens and the courgettes are cooked, literally just when they're cooked is when you serve. You don't want to overcook your greens, especially when you spend all this time growing them. This is great. Oh, that looks great. It's my garden on a plate. Look at me rhyming. And it's a shame to waste some of these lovely carrot tops. They make the perfect garnish. Just dotted round. They actually have a really nice herbaceous flavour too. Oh, yes, this is what I need. Here it goes. I'm so happy with this. I'm proud of myself. 15 ingredients from my garden. Just nourishing and warming. Something my nan would have made for me for sure. Delicious, absolutely delicious. That colour is almost luminous, it's unbelievable. Did you know that the ingredient in this was used to ward off evil spirits? This is a risotto like no other. The rustic charm of this dish is all centred around using creamy pearl barley instead of rice for its earthy, nutty flavour. However, there's another twist. With each bite, there's a surprising flavour, a vibrant green note that's from a humble but powerful ingredient that's often overlooked as a common garden weed. This brings a wild freshness that balances the nutty depth of the barley. The weed even has the power to fight off seasonal allergies, and the Romans held it in high regard. And what better, it's totally free. Delicious. To make the simple risotto, first up you need to finely chop up some onions and some garlic and some celery. They are my base ingredients, and when my pan is hot I add a touch of olive oil and saute them together for around 5 minutes. We want to let all of the sweetness and flavour out of each ingredient. Oh, I am enjoying being in my new kitchen so much. Thank you for joining me here. At this stage, it's so important to season with salt because it not only helps bring out flavour, but it also will just draw out some of that liquid and help everything caramelise beautifully. One pet hate of mine is when I go out to eat at restaurants and things aren't seasoned properly, and that's with salt mainly, because salt just enhances the flavour and it brings new life to dishes. If something's bland, that often means you haven't added enough salt. Then we'll stir through some rinsed pearl barley. It's high in fibre and has this sort of nutty, satisfying chewiness as well that works so well in this risotto. Toast the grain for a few minutes in the pan before deglazing with some white wine. Guys, I cannot express to you how much I appreciate dried mushrooms. Now, they can be bought at all good supermarkets these days. Some are more expensive than others. My favourite is porcini by far. They have the most incredible rich flavour. I love to forage my own porcinis. I have never grown or never forage enough to be able to dry them for myself. In Italy, there's tons of them, so that's where most of the time they come from. What I'm going to do now is actually rehydrate them in some boiling water. You'll notice as the mushrooms are hydrating, their flavor and richness leaches out into the liquid, and that is a vital flavor infusion that we must add to the pan. But just be careful there's no sand or grit in the liquid. I am confident enough in those mushrooms to say that I do not need to add any stock to this, but just boiling water. And then I'm going to pop a lid on the pan and let it bubble away for about 45 minutes or so, just over a very low heat. All right, that's bubbling away. Now it's time to go and get the star ingredient, my weed. All right, so what I mean by weed, I mean stingy nettle. I haven't got any gloves on me today because I don't mind being stung by them. The reason being, I've got some new information all about stinging nettles that may show that the sting is actually good for us. So let's go find some. Hello chickens. Is there any nettles in there? There's got to be some in the hedgerow. Here's some lovely nettles, just as the sun is coming down. So nettles, weirdly enough, by Romans in the UK, when it got really cold in the winter, they used to rub nettles all over them to keep them warm. That's a bit extreme, I think. I actually feel that the power and the benefits and the deliciousness and all the vitamins and minerals that are in stinging nettles are actually going to be present in my risotto, because I'm only going to add the stinging nettles at the very end so they hold on to maximum nutrition. Ow! If you clamp them, you don't get stung, but I just did. Ah! Okay, I'm gonna get some scissors. How did the Romans rub them all over themselves? Nutters! No wonder they took everywhere over. I feel like this plant needs a bit more appreciation by us. We need to stop referring to it as a weed and start referring to it as an ingredient that we would have used since we've been around, really, I'm sure. This isn't the best technique, I just can't find my scissors anywhere. All right, that's just enough nettle, just enough. I would like some more, but I lost my scissors and it just makes it a pain to cut them. If you can't get hold of nettles, then just use spinach instead. Now, I am actually going to be using some frozen spinach because I really want to create the most green, rich, luscious puree to fold through my pearl barley risotto. And to get rid of the sting, we need to cook them. So I'm going to steam the nettles for a few minutes, maybe 1.5 minutes max, along with the frozen spinach, and then we'll blitz it up with a little olive oil, a touch of water, and a pinch of sea salt. Right, so this pearl barley looks perfectly cooked now, and it smells mushroom heaven. It's only right now that we enjoy this outside, so I'm going to do the last stage of the cooking technique for this nettle risotto outside. Well, this is a nice little alfresco dining situation. The sun is out, it feels beautiful. Perfect meal, I think, on a hot day, risotto. Now this is a spin on a risotto using the pearl barley, but to make it even more of a spin, this is kind of trippy actually. I'm about to mix through that incredible green nettle sauce through this risotto. It's an acquired taste. I think it looks almost luminous, but It's intriguing, it looks fresh and healthy, so let's get it in. Just before serving up, I'm adding a pinch of salt, pepper, and lemon juice. And to top it off, I'm adding a whipped tahini yogurt dressing that I made in a previous video. So that just adds a real creaminess. I finally finish off with a drizzle of olive oil and pumpkin seeds. Bit of pepper, because why not, and also I don't know when to finish. I was just about to take a photo of this, but being in the garden is inspiring. It looks great, it's gonna taste amazing. But then I saw some nasturtium leaves just growing here like a weed. These have got the most peppery flavor. A few of these won't hurt. You don't have to do this at home. It's just me being a weird artiste. Oh, that nasturtium just finishes it off. I can't wait to taste. In the garden. This may be a weird one for you, but I promise it's a good one. I just love the pearl barley as a risotto rice, and the nettle and the spinach just have a subtle sort of herbaceous flavor, and then you've got that beautiful porcini mushroom. It's just rich. I'm glad I added that nasturtium at the end, that nice little peppery note. This is a great way of using nettles. Give it a go, they're free to pick and they're so underused. Delicious.
This is my remake of a nostalgic sweet treat from many moons ago. Every now and then I decide it's time to do something a little extra special and indulgent in my kitchen, especially when it's to celebrate a bountiful harvest. Warming, hearty, wholesome, crisp and damn right delicious.
Here it goes. Look at that, it's oozing out there. Wow. Delicious. Ah, the rolling green hills of Wales. And look at this rhubarb, it's crazy. Each year it gets bigger and bigger. Like, look at this. Unbelievable stuff. Let's pick a load of this. I'm actually gonna make, believe it or not, and I don't like saying this, but you can't not agree that McDonald's apple pies as a kid were one of the most delicious things that were ever invented. Honestly, I used to go swimming so much as a kid. I did it like 6 times a week, and on the way home from swimming, as we would drive past McDonald's, I would beg my mum for an apple pie. I'm glad you didn't get me one each time because it's not good for you, but occasionally we had an apple pie from McDonald's. Now, I want to try and recreate a fried
apple pie, but without the apple, we're going to use rhubarb instead. So this is going to be my neighbour's rhubarb fried pie, McDonald's style, but a bit more gourmet and delicious. Ooh, can I get them in the basket is the question. So yesterday I made a delicious savoury treat with my rhubarb that I got from my neighbour's garden. Lacto fermented. It's the most unbelievable dish ever, to be honest with you. You've got to check out the recipe. But today I thought, let's utilise the rhubarb in a sweet dish. I don't eat that many sweet dishes. I don't want too much sugar, but from time to time I've got to indulge, and especially when the rhubarb and the produce is this good. So first things first, we need to make a delicious, sweet, juicy, pink and vibrant rhubarb filling. And to achieve that, I'm gonna cook my rhubarb at different stages. So I'll probably throw in a load of chopped rhubarb at the end as well, so that it holds on to that pink color. All right, so that's my rhubarb chop. That's the first batch, because we're gonna add some more after. I'm just gonna keep reminding myself, because that's how we're gonna get a lovely pink color. And now I'm gonna go in with some of my homemade vanilla extract. And this is so simple to make, believe it or not. Whenever I've had some vanilla pods that I've used in recipes, I've just popped them in this jar with a little vodka, and that infusion is an amazing vanilla extract. So that's gonna go in. I'm also going to add a pinch of ground cinnamon, and to make it even more gourmet, a touch of chopped crystallized ginger. All right, so now we need to get some sweetness in there. I'm actually going to use sugar on this occasion. Often I would just use something like maple syrup or agave, but sugar, because we're doing this like McDonald's style. Now I'm going to introduce some citrus into the mix. I've got a blood orange, so I'm going to zest and juice it into the pan. Plus, I'm actually going to add some corn flour mixed with a little water, and that's going to help thicken the mixture and stop it being watery within the pie. All right, so that's going to bubble away for a little bit. Let's get some rhubarb chopped, which we'll add right at the end. Oh, that is yummy. That corn flour has worked its magic completely, and I've got this beautiful pinky orangey syrup that is just coating around all these lovely lumps. Oh my word, that is absolutely delicious. Lightly spiced from the cinnamon and the ginger. So I'm not going to cook this for too much longer, because I really want some nice bite-sized pieces amongst the filling. I'll throw in my finely sliced rhubarb for the vibrancy, and then we'll take it off and let it cool completely, because we don't want to put hot filling inside my pastry, and that's the next job, making the pastry. Ooh, beautiful. All right, so let's make our pastry. You of course can use shop-bought pastry, but I'm going to make my own so I can see every single ingredient that's gone into it. It's really, really simple as well. I've got some all-purpose flour in my mixing bowl that I'm going to add a little sugar, plus a pinch of salt to. We'll mix that up, and then I'll throw in some cubed cold butter, and I'll use my hands to rub it together to form almost a breadcrumb-like consistency, so that that butter is evenly distributed throughout the flour. Then I'll add a couple tablespoons of cold water, just enough to bring everything together to form a ball of dough. I'll then turn it out onto my chopping board and just give it a little knead, just to work that gluten a little bit. Then cover over the bowl and set it aside to rest for a little while in the fridge before I roll it out.
So I'm just rolling my homemade pastry out to around 3 mil thick. And then I'm gonna cut some big circles, not that big, medium circles. And we'll then fill the circles with our lovely filling that's now just fridge temperature, because we want to keep everything cold. That is a lovely disc of pastry. So I'm going to pop it on my board. I'm going to cut some more and then we'll fill them all. So I'm just doing a small one because I had a small bit of pastry spare, but of course you can roll all this pastry up and roll it out again and create some more circles. But I think 4 is enough today. Ooh. Oh my word, look how pink and vibrant that filling is. Unbelievable. And it's super cold now. This is my filling station. I've got some water mixed with a little oil and maple. That's going to help stick everything together. So it's a simple case of packing as much of that filling as you can into each of the pastry circles on one side, and then I'll fold it over and just use some of that liquid to bind it together. Use a fork to crimp it together, and that's the parcel of joy done, ready for cooking. Guys, comparing the two, this small one and this big one, that big one is just way too big. I shouldn't have done them that big. So I'm going to cut these circles down to that size. So these are going to go in the fridge now just to firm up, and in that time I'll heat up my oil. These can be baked. I'm going to say that to you right now because obviously frying is so unhealthy. But for me, this is a one-off, rare, incredible, indulgent treat that I'm so excited to try. But you can just bake them 180 degrees Celsius for about 30 minutes or until they're crisp and golden, and you can brush some of that glaze over the top just so they go lovely and golden too. So our oil's on, it's time to set up our frying station. You have to be prepared. So I'm just gonna get a plate lined with some kitchen paper. That's gonna soak up any excess oil once the pies are fried. And to take this to the next level, I'm gonna toss together some unrefined caster sugar with a little ground cinnamon to make a cinnamon sugar coating. Oh, guys, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to fry my neighbor's rhubarb and blood orange and vanilla and cinnamon pies, McDonald's style, but gourmet and delicious, because we don't like McDonald's. To check the oil's hot enough, pop something wooden inside it, and if bubbles form around the wood, it's ready to fry. I'm only going to fry one pie at a time, just so that my oil level doesn't rise up too high and overflow. Please be very safe when shallow or deep frying. So we're just going to make sure nothing's sticking, and we're going to cook these until golden and crisp. Whenever cooking things like this, pizza, raviolis, pies like this, it's always good to do a test run. So this is my test run. Now I know that I can definitely get 2 in at a time, which is obviously going to speed up the process, and I can serve multiple at once, and I'm not having one going cold whilst I'm waiting for the other one to cook. So think about that when you're cooking in future, just doing a test run. I now know that nothing's splitting or leaking out. So all good so far, and these are going really lovely and golden and crisp for sure. All right, let's get this one out. It's lovely and golden, and then we'll fry the rest and then get them into that lovely cinnamon sugar. All right, let's get these pies in my cinnamon sugar, and then I'll serve them up with some of my homemade vanilla custard, and I'll pop the recipe for that along with the pie recipe on my website. Oh, look at that, crystallized perfection, cinnamon sugar, parcel of joy, rhubarb heaven. Oh, that is unbelievable. I think a bit of custard on the plate first, this on top, and I've also got some pistachios to go over too. That looks good. Here it goes. Wow. And look at that. Oh, it's oozing out, that filling. The pastry's almost puffed up, like puff pastry. Oh, we have definitely made McDonald's apple pie gourmet. Wow, delicious. I'm gonna try and get cameraman Tom and my friend Rue to give a one-word reaction to it. So whether they like it or not, they're coming on camera, just to give you a reaction. Sorry, boys.
Very wholesome. Sensational.